All right, Jacob. On this day in sports history, in 2004, the Patriots beat the Carolina Panthers for Tom Brady's second Super Bowl championship. As well as in 2015, the famous New England Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks for the Seattle Seahawks not running the ball in the fourth quarter. What do you have to say about all that?
Every year I get haunted by my Twitter feed on this day. This day and the day that Michigan had that blocked kick against Appalachian State are the two worst days of the year. So I kind of feel like crawling into a hole.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm sure it's a bad day. I will always tweet at you, especially on Appalachian State Day. Every single day, I will always tweet that to you.
Pain. It's just endless pain.
Well, boys and girls, to the Long Brothers podcast, where today we have multiple things different to talk about. Clearly, the NFL with the conference championship and Super Bowl predictions. Tom Brady retiring, but not retiring, then actually retiring. We're talking about the 49ers and Jimmy G and Trey Lance moving forward, and then some other college football topics. But to start today's podcast, we're going to talk about Tom Brady actually retiring. Coming out today, announcing that he's retiring, he's done, after that whole fiasco we had a couple days ago of Tom Brady's retiring, and then all the stuff saying, wait a second, he's not retiring. Adam Schefter was just shaking there, thinking that he's going to get fired from ESPN after all of that was happening. But Tom Brady's retired. He's done. Go to the NFL. Yeah, he's had some great seasons with the Patriots and the Buccaneers. Jacob, what do you have to say about Tom Brady retiring from the NFL?
I mean, I think Tom Brady is 1,000,000% the best football player ever. He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of sports history for sure. I think the best thing about this whole situation, though, is just Adam Schefter jumping the gate. And honestly, I kind of thought Tom Brady was going to change his mind and just play another season just to spite Schefter, just because it'd be hilarious. And I kind of wish he would have. I really did think that he was going to give it one more year and see what he can do, but I don't really. It doesn't really surprise me that he, is finding now a good time to spend more time with his supermodel wife and his children. So
Yeah, well, I told you on the phone a couple days ago when all this was happening that I thought that I for sure did not think, even before him retiring, not retiring, all that stuff um happened, I thought Tom Brady was going to play for one more year just to have that farewell tour of, this is my last season. Everyone's just like, goes to stadium. Everyone's like, Tom Brady for the last time in this stadium, blah, blah, blah. And everyone, and not that I don't think Tom Brady's that type of person, but like, I feel like he's getting to a point of career. Like when he went to the Buccaneers, he's like, I'm gonna finally get paid, even though he wasn't one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, anyways. But he's like, I'm gonna go secure my bag. He's like, I'm gonna go to Tampa, and I'm gonna get everything that I should have deserved throughout my whole career because he's such a unselfish person that I thought maybe he was gonna come back, be like announced. He's like, this is my last year. I'm gonna try to win one more Super Bowl. If it doesn't work out, I'm done.
yeah, I mean, and I think he might have saw the writing on the wall a little bit. I think from what I've seen, the Buccaneers probably had one more year where they could keep that roster together, maybe, kind of depending on the cap situation this year. So I mean, he had one of his best seasons. He had his statistically best season this year in the regular season. I know he had one extra game, but he had his most yards he's ever thrown for at 44 years old. I mean, and the fact that everyone agrees that he left two or three really good seasons on the table at 44 is kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, he definitely had years ahead of him, and it's like a LeBron. I feel like every year, just like this is gonna be a year he's finally not gonna be putting up 28 points a game and this and that. And Tom Brady just year after year consistently just put up numbers. And what an absolutely great career for Tom Brady, for the best to play. And arguably, you can make, like you said, Mount Rushmore of all sports.
That Babe Ruth is
Like
not on.
first, yeah, no one, I agreeing with you there. But I just think great career. I mean, clearly there's nothing me and you can say that would, surprise anybody. Like I feel like everyone feels the same way about Tom Brady. Definitely had a couple more years in him, but just easily the best to do it. I know there's some people out there who'll argue But Tom Brady, great career. Actually retiring since he came out and said it. But I don't know. I love Tom Brady. Clearly, I've been a Patriots fan my whole life, so can't hate the guy.
Yeah, I've always been a huge Brady fan, mostly because our father, that's why you're a Patriots fan, was a big Patriots fan, loved Tom Brady. But yeah, it's like I said, there's not a whole lot, you can say about it that hasn't already been said already, other than the memes that will come from this for the rest of time are going to be fantastic. But what is something that I think we could talk about quite a bit is this last weekend of playoffs and our upcoming Super Bowl in a couple weeks here. That will not be featuring Tom Brady and never will again feature Tom Brady. What did you think of those two games last weekend?
Two great games again. Like this, I think, has been one of the best playoffs we've had in many years, at least in my lifetime. Like every game that occurred throughout those playoffs, almost all of them were like one possession games, came down to the end, final possessions, just absolutely great. And the biggest thing I'll take out of this weekend is that thank God that the freaking Bengals stopped the Chiefs. Oh my gosh. That was the best thing ever. I remember calling you when the Bengals were driving to end the game there. Like I was just looking forward to the Bengals winning and the Chiefs losing. The Chiefs just choked it. I mean, they had the lead, couldn't do anything in the second half, and lost. And honestly, I'm more happy that. Honestly, I feel like the reason why too I dislike the Chiefs as much as I do is just because of Patrick Mahomes' wife and his brother. We could talk. I don't know if you've seen the memes about Patrick Mahomes' wife talking about like she literally tweeted. I'm sure you saw her shaking this champagne on Chiefs fans after the Bills game. And then it was me. She tweeted something out there the one day. She's just like, "Why?" She's like, "I just wish I could just do anything that I want and like not be questioned for it." And we're just like, I literally read that tweet. I'm like, "What?
Like what?
Like and have no consequence? Like, yeah, me too. I wish I could do anything I want and just not be questioned for it too." But
yeah, well, I mean, and did you see that video of her where she was like, "Y'all counted us out. No one gave us a chance." It's like you're the Chiefs. It was like Bryce Young being like, "No one ever believed in me." It's like you're the quarterback for Alabama. Everyone believed in you, bro.
Yeah,
like,
no,
everyone like there's this weird thing like in today's society where like if you're not an underdog, it like doesn't count.
Yeah.
So like everyone tries to be an underdog like when they're not. Like the Chiefs, like I think I get the Chiefs, and I said up until like 5 weeks ago that the Chiefs stink. I'll eat my words. I'll eat my words on that. But I mean, it's like you're the Chiefs. You've been the best team in the league for the last 4 years, and you have one Super Bowl to show for it.
Yeah, well, I remember reading because it was Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes came out and said too that like they were overlooked and like no one believed in them. I know you just said that, but like wasn't it Patrick Mahomes the one that said that, wasn't it? Someone post game for the Chiefs said like we were overlooked, like we weren't supposed to be. I think that maybe that's what Patrick Mahomes is like. We weren't supposed to be here. Like everyone counted us out. I'm just like,
I guess you were. You were supposed to be there, then you stunk, and then you were supposed to be there again.
Yes, the beginning of the season, yes, everyone was probably counting the Chiefs out, saying they got figured out. But by the end of the season, no one was still saying like the Chiefs aren't good. Like they're not gonna make the conference. I think everyone thought the Chiefs were probably the favorites to come out of the AFC.
The Chiefs, I should have checked, but like the Super Bowl favorites going into the playoffs were probably Packers followed by Chiefs, probably followed by Tampa Bay.
Oh yeah, probably. But overall, just glad from this weekend. Super happy that the Chiefs lost. Super happy that the Rams won. Because like I said last podcast, all I want is Matt Stafford to win a Super Bowl. And here's his chance. And finally, there's been a Super Bowl, first Super Bowl in a long time that like I haven't cared who's going to win this one. If the Bengals won, I wouldn't care. I'd be a little upset because Matt Stafford didn't win. Clearly, I am cheering for the Rams more than often. But if the Bengals won, I wouldn't be upset at all. It's like, honestly, that the thing me saying that too is a lot of my lifetime, the Patriots have been playing in the Super Bowl. So that's why I've cared most of the time. Or Tom Brady's been playing in the Super Bowl. But like, I'm just happy. Finally, my first prediction all playoffs where I've been saying week after week, the 49ers are going to lose. The 49ers, literally, I said they're going to lose to the Cowboys. I said they were going to lose to, who they played the second round again? Who did they beat?
Packers.
The Packers, yes. Yeah, because that's who. I said they're going to lose to the Packers. And then I said they're going to lose to the Rams. Finally, happen. It wasn't looking like that. The Rams scored 13 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win. And like I called you this and told you this too, that that there was some weird, that the stat was this was the biggest fourth quarter comeback in championship history, which was 10 points, which, like you said, seems crazy, but previous one being 9 with the 2004 Seahawks. But I'm just glad the Rams won, Bengals won. Those are the two teams I wanted to win. And I'm excited, looking forward to the Super Bowl. I don't know what your thoughts were on the conference championship games.
Yeah, I'm all for the Bengals making it. I mean, like I said, I was a fan of the Chiefs like 2 or 3 years ago, but I have become a non-fan just because of the stupid hype that has been around them. Like Mahomes is overrated. The Chiefs are overrated, but like after they won one Super Bowl, everyone was already talking about Mahomes being the GOAT and the Chiefs being the next dynasty. I'm like, oh, they won one Super Bowl. Like let's slow the roll. And now they've won one Super Bowl in 4 years. And the one Super Bowl they won, frankly, the 49ers choked it. I mean, like they've been outplayed in Super Bowl for 7 out of 8 quarters in the Super Bowls, in the 2 Super Bowls they've been in. Like they're like this isn't the Patriots in 2003 and 2004 through 2019. Like this isn't them.
Yeah, well, and I will disagree with you on one thing. Maybe you didn't mean to say it. Maybe you did. I don't know. I don't think the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are overrated. I think they are that good, but I don't think they're. I think they're overhyped. I wish they're not overrated. I'd say they're overhyped.
That might be a better word, because, like I said, I mean, like you have all these people. Every time Mahomes makes a no-look pass, and it's like, oh my gosh, this guy is transcendent, and it's like Matt Stafford makes no-look passes. Everyone makes no-look passes. Like everything that Mahomes does, everyone else does, but for some reason, because he's Mahomes, he just gets, like I said, honestly, like I like Mahomes. I think he's an awesome quarterback. He's super fun to watch, but it's just like it just kind of started rubbing me the wrong way when everyone said after his second season and they won a Super Bowl and they were already talking about is Mahomes going to be the GOAT, and then the next year Tom Brady, I put that to rest real fast. Like, yeah, no, you got a long way to go, before you're on that kind of level. And
yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'm not a big fan. They're overhyped, and glad they lost. But man, in that game, Patrick Mahomes was running with his head covered, just like the Super Bowl last year. He was getting rushed and just all over the place, trying to make something happen and try to carry his team. First half, the Chiefs rolled. The second half, they just weren't there. And actually, this weekend, there was only one quarterback that threw over 300 yards, and that was Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big. I mean, yeah, like I said, none of the guys had a really big weekend. And Stafford has really earned this, I think. All those years in Detroit, he is, in my humble opinion, the most underrated quarterback, maybe even player of our whole generation, because people always discounted him because he was throwing to Megatron, which is, and like I would challenge anyone to name one other wide receiver he was throwing it to when he was playing in Detroit, like one.
No, I agree with you. And I saw a tweet the other day too that says he's like this is why Matt Stafford's the exact reason why kids at college have to tank their draft year so they get drafted by good teams, don't get drafted by the crap teams. Just like Matt Stafford's right there in front of you. Why, like I said, like Justin Fields last year for Ohio State, like he should have tanked the last season so he would have been drafted like 20th in the draft and played for a good team rather than being drafted by the Bears.
Or he could be Burrow or Peyton Manning.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, frankly, I mean, like the contracts, like the difference between the number 1 overall pick and like the number 15 overall pick is actually relatively dramatic.
Yeah, it is. I'm not saying that, but like, and some of these players' thing is they want to make money, but I feel like a lot of them want to go to win. And I don't know. And like I said, or you could just get in a situation of like Andrew Luck where the Colts were good. Just Peyton Manning got injured. They just basically tanked the season. Then they got Andrew Luck, and the Colts were really good again. Same for Trey Lance for 49ers, who 49ers were just really bad last year because of injuries, and now he got drafted by a good team.
And
But I know we're going to get into talking about the 49ers and their quarterback thing and what they should do. But I think before we hop into that, though, we need to talk about Super Bowl predictions. I want to know what you think, who you think's going to win, and what you're looking forward to in the Super Bowl.
I mean, I'm just looking forward to either one of these quarterbacks winning a Super Bowl. I'm definitely going to be rooting for the Bengals, just because I can't root for an NFC West rival, but I really like Stafford. I've always liked him, so I mean, if he got a Super Bowl, I really wouldn't complain. So I'm kind of like you. I'm going to be rooting for the Bengals, but if the Rams win, no big deal. I mean, Burrow has a lot of career left, but I think him winning a Super Bowl in his second season after being drafted number 1 overall, I think would just speak volumes about him as a player and just that organization, properly building around their player, which, I mean, I've said this 1,000 times on this podcast, but I mean, I thought they were wrong, and that's why I'm not an NFL GM. So, I really do think the Bengals are going to win this one. I mean, I just feel like I think their defense is playing pretty well so far in the playoffs. Their kicker has ice in his veins. Burrow's played well. He hasn't been fantastic, but he's played well enough. He's had some good games here, and they got lots of talent. They're not really hampered by injuries a whole lot. I mean, I think the Rams are more talented, but I mean, I just kind of think the Bengals have just found ways to win so far. So I'm going to take the Bengals probably by like 3 or 4. I think it's going to be a tight game.
Yeah, no, I'm going to disagree with you here. The Bengals have been rolling. They've been the hot team in the AFC, and we said this right when the playoffs started, that out of all teams in the AFC, I think the Bengals are one team that could get hot and make it to the Super Bowl and win. And here they are in the Super Bowl. I didn't predict the Bengals. I feel, for some reason, I feel like way back when we first came out with this, I can't remember. I made a prediction right when the playoffs started, and I feel like I predicted the Bengals to be in the AFC Championship, but losing to the Bills, I'm pretty sure is what I predicted. But, oh, never mind, not the Bills. Oh, yeah, the Bills. It would have been the Bills. I'm pretty sure it's predicted, but the Bengals are rolling, and honestly, the Rams are the favorites by like 3 or 4 points right now. In my opinion, I think the Bengals should be favorited just for how they've been playing. But I think the Rams are going to win. And here's my thing. I understand the Super Bowl probably doesn't make that much of a difference, but them playing in their home stadium in LA, I think the Rams are going to win. I don't think they're going to lose in their home stadium. The Rams have a lot of talent. They have a lot of, I should say, veterans. You got Matt Stafford. OBJ's been in the league for a while. Cooper Kupp has played in a Super Bowl. The Rams have been in the Super Bowl before. They've experienced this. They've prepared for it before. I think being in their home stadium, having done it before and having some veteran players, I think the Rams are going to come in, and I think they're going to win by like 10.
I think it could happen. I mean, I don't think the Bengals, if they win, will run away with it, but I think the Rams would be able to run away with it. Just because, like I said, I think they are more talented. But I mean, at this point in the season, who's more talented matters about zero. I think the Bengals are playing well, and we don't play the playoffs to see who the best team is. The best team never wins every year. Like, this isn't about being the best team. It's about being the champion. And I think the Bengals will be the champion of this season.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing. If the Bengals win, I won't be surprised. I'm not saying I don't think the Rams, if the Bengals came out and won, I wouldn't be like, wow, surprised the Bengals won. I'm not going to lie, throughout this playoffs, every time the 49ers won, I was like, wow, I can't believe the 49ers won. Like, whoever won this game, I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I think the Bengals should be favorites in my opinion, but like I said, I just think based on the fact that the Rams have experience in the Super Bowl from the last couple of years in their home stadium. They got talent around them. So do the Bengals. But I'm saying Joe Burrow's in his second year. I mean, you got young players like Jamar Chase on their team, like just people that are just young and haven't been like the Bengals haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1989. Like, they haven't been in a conference championship in I couldn't even tell you.
Well, they didn't have a playoff win for like 30 years. Now here they are.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's been a long time for the Bengals. They haven't been in the situation. The Rams have been in this situation before. I just think just from that experience, I mean, Sean McVay, everyone talked. He's the young genius of the NFL, and then lost to the Patriots, and I think he got discredited a little bit, this and that. But like, I think the fact that the Rams have been there before, Matt Stafford, who said has been the most underrated player ever in history, just because he's been playing for the Lions. I think he has something to play for. Like, I think he wants to prove to everybody that he's better than everyone thinks he has been. Not that I think everyone knows he's been good, but like just overlooked by the media, I think. And I think the Rams are going to win. Fun fact, all my gym classes that I have, I gave them all a piece of paper to predict the Super Bowl, circle what team and what they think the score is going to be. And they get they can either take extra credit points or they can take one free day off of gym and get their points. That's besides the point. I'm not gonna lie, probably 75% of all the papers I've gotten have picked the Bengals to win. Which is weird because I feel like as high schoolers and elementary, my old elementary class, I feel like those kids are usually like, I'm gonna pick the favorite, which would be the Rams. But everyone has social media and sees all Joe Burrow with his chain and all the confidence in the world. They're probably just thinking,
smoking fat cigars in the locker room
after every single game.
Just
yeah,
doing Joe Burrow stuff.
I love Joe Burrow. And that's why I'm saying, like, if the Bengals won, I'd be happy. Rams won, I'd be happy. I just think the Rams are going to come out with this victory. But looking forward, I know we had a good time to transition into it, but we had to talk about the Super Bowl quick. The 49ers lose to the Rams in the NFC Championship. Moving forward, it seems like the 49ers are going to trade Jimmy G. They're going to kind of try to move to Trey Lance next year. 49ers have been in it for the past. They've been good. The NFC Championship this year, 2 years ago, they were playing in a Super Bowl, like you mentioned earlier, that they choked. They had that game against the Chiefs, and they choked it. But what do you think the 49ers should do with Jimmy G? Jimmy G has led them to a Super Bowl, an NFC Championship, and granted, you could say that mostly is the defense and a lot of targets around it, but like he's been involved in a Super Bowl run and carrying him to the NFC this year, which I don't think a lot of people thought they were going to make, including myself. So what do you think are the 49ers stupid to go away with Jimmy G and move on to Trey Lance, or should they keep him, or should they get rid of him and move on?
If the 49ers wanted to move off of Garoppolo, they should have done it last year in the postseason, and they should have traded for a different quarterback. Trey Lance is not the solution there, but since they think he is, they should trade him. You can't pick a quarterback, number 3 overall, and then not play him if you thought that he was your guy. If you think that is your guy, you have to get rid of the guy in front of him and clear some cap space and all that good jazz. I don't think Trey Lance is the solution. I think Garoppolo is a better quarterback. I think Garoppolo is a better quarterback than most guys in the league. He's another guy who's super underrated because he's not flashy. And he doesn't have a lot of stats. Because I was talking to you before this. He was second in yards per attempt. He just doesn't have the volume that other guys get. Granted, with that reduced volume, he's still through 12 picks. But that's something you can fix. He's been hurt a lot. I just really think that if he could get a full season under his belt, I think that he should have been their guy. And if they wanted to move off of him, I really don't think that Lance was the solution. But if they think he's a solution, they got to trade him. Where he's going to go, maybe like the Saints, maybe Denver. There's a lot of places, the Panthers. There's a lot of places that could use a quarterback. And, Garoppolo he's a good one. So, except, two things can be true here at once where I can think that Garoppolo is their guy, but based on how the organization has behaved, I kind of think they have to trade him.
Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. I agree with you the point, we talked about this. I agree with the point of if they're going to draft someone third overall, roll with them. I don't think Trey Lance is the solution, and yeah, I hate to say it. That might be because I'm biased, but I don't like to think it is because I want to admit when Carson Wentz was playing, I didn't think he was a bad quarterback. I didn't think the Eagles were stupid for drafting him, and I thought he was a good quarterback, and he was. We have talked about a lot how if he didn't get injured his rookie season, he would have won MVP, and rightfully so. He was good. Carson Wentz was good, and injuries have stopped him a lot. Not a Bison fan, not even really Carson Wentz fan, even though I've been told, by a lot of people, apparently I resemble Carson Wentz. That's why,
Jarson Wentz.
that's why my Twitter handle, everything is Jarson Wentz. But, like, I didn't want Carson Wentz to really succeed, anything like that. But I realized he's a good quarterback. He is, and I thought he was coming into the league. Trey Lance is not somebody I think is good coming into the league. Carson Wentz playing for the Bison had a lot of, great passer, great overall stats for multiple years with the Bison. Trey Lance played the 1 year, had a good year, barely played, like you said before, he hasn't played for 2 years. Yeah, minus a couple games he started this year.
He's started like 3 football games in the last 2 years and had a couple garbage time runs. Like he hasn't played at all.
And that's my point, is that I don't think he's the solution. I know you don't think he is either. And honestly, I think with him at quarterback, the 49ers will go backwards with him. I don't think they'll be as good. And Jimmy G, to an extent, I understand what you're saying. He is underrated, but I don't think he's one of the best. I think he's just one of those quarterbacks. Honestly, I almost compare him to like a Kirk Cousins. And Minnesota Vikings fans probably hate me because I feel like Minnesota.
He's underrated too. He had a really good season.
And I know he did.
And the Vikings fans still want to throw him under the coals for some reason because Vikings fans are irrational.
No, and I argue with prime example. Back in the day, Brody Cahill, all the time about him hating Kirk Cousins and how they should get rid of him. I don't think Kirk Cousins is worth the money that he's getting paid, but he's good. But that's just my example, is that I think Jimmy G, he does what he needs to win a game. He's not going to, like you said, he's not going to be flashy. He's not going to throw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns, but he's a smart guy, and he's going to do offensively what he needs to do. If it's hand the ball off 50 times, throw a couple check down passes. He's a smart quarterback where he's going to do what he needs to do for the team to win. And that's why I like Jimmy G. Like I said, he's not going to be a flashy quarterback where someone picks him up. When he was young before his injuries, you could think maybe he would have been one of those guys that he throwing up 400 yards a game. But, he's not. Injuries have slowed him down a little bit. But, I love Jimmy G. And I think the 49ers were stupid for moving on from him. And I think whoever picks him up is a lucky team, because I think he's a smart guy. Like I said, he's not going to give you massive stats every single year, but he's going to do the job that you need to for the offense.
Yeah, I mean, he's reliable. I mean, before that pick he threw,
reliable in a when he's not injured kind of way, though.
Yeah, I mean, when I said, when he's around, he's reliable. He wasn't the problem in that game in the weekend. I mean, before that pick at the end, I mean, he had like 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, he had a good game. Definitely didn't have a bad game.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Maybe a lot of people can argue
he's actually pretty good in the clutch. Is his biggest attribute is that he's pretty mediocre, and then when it's time to come up big, he always does.
Well, and the thing about, and people will argue and they'll talk, to me, or maybe listeners be like, they're getting rid of him because he's injury. And if that's the reason, if the 49ers are looking for an excuse to be like, this is why we're getting rid of Jimmy G, is because he's had a lot of injuries career, I'd be like, okay, that's a valid excuse. I'm fine with you getting rid of him then. But if you say that you think Trey Lance is going to be a better option than Jimmy G in the future, and say if you knew Jimmy G wasn't going to get injured at all, I'd be like, you're full of it. But if they're moving on because it's just like he's been injury after injury for Jimmy G, I'd be like, I'm fine with that. If that's the reason why the 49ers are getting rid of him and trying to move on, I respect that, because he has had a lot of injuries in his career so far, in my opinion. But
yeah, he has. Like I said, I mean, and if you want to move off him over that, but he hasn't been as injury, ridden as, some guys can be. I mean, he's had some problems, sure, but he's definitely not like Cam Newton 3 years ago.
Well, and the thing is that he's come back from his injuries, not like some people come back from their injuries and they're, terrible. You can say Cam Newton, he hasn't been the best after. You could say RG3. I mean, I think he started off his career pretty good, and then, lots of injuries, and he hasn't been there. Granted, different people, different type of player, but I don't know. If Jimmy G stays healthy, I think it'd be stupid. But like I said, if they're moving on because of his injuries that he's recently had, I understand it. But speaking about the 49ers, let's talk about Jim Harbaugh, who used to be the 49ers head coach, moving on to college football. We have the Vikings talking to Jim Harbaugh, and I believe the Dolphins
Yep.
are also talking to Harbaugh. This Michigan head coach had a good season. Been with the Michigan Wolverines for quite a few seasons now, and now is getting NFL offers after a great season coaching Michigan. What do you think about, as a Michigan fan for yourself? And maybe not, I shouldn't say put the bias away, but like, what do you think about that? Do you think it's a good move for Harbaugh to come back to the NFL, or do you think he should stick with your Wolverines for a while?
Um, I don't really know what's best for him. I think he wants to go back to the NFL at this point. Up until about Friday or Saturday, I was pretty convinced that he was coming back for another season. He's still on the recruiting trail. He's still doing all this other stuff. But from everything I've seen the last few days, it kind of seems like he's either going to the Vikings or the Dolphins. And here's the thing is, so the Dolphins owner is a big Michigan guy. And he said, I'm not going to hire Harbaugh because I want him to stay at Michigan. But when it started to look like the Vikings were going to get him, he was like, well, if he's going to the NFL, I might as well have him. So that's why they're going after him now.
Huh. I did not know that.
It's essentially jealousy. But I mean, I kind of think the Vikings would be a decent fit for him. I think that Harbaugh is the kind of guy that the Vikings ought to be looking for. I'd hate to see him go. I have been one of Harbaugh's few defenders over the last few years. I didn't want his head last year. I didn't want it 2 years ago. I've always wanted him to stick around. Like he's just a Michigan guy, and at Michigan, it's important to have a Michigan guy coaching the team. I mean, I always talk about in Michigan's only national basketball title back in the 80s. Their head coach that year got fired going into the tournament because he took another job. And their AD said, no, if you're not going to be a Michigan man, you're not going to coach this team. We're going to fire you and hire a Michigan man. And they won the title. At Michigan, it's important to be a Michigan guy. And Harbaugh's a Michigan guy. The two guys before Harbaugh were Michigan guys, and it didn't work. So I'd like to keep a Michigan guy at the helm. But if he leaves, no hard feelings. I think we had many great seasons with Harbaugh at the helm. Better than the 5-7 we had with Hoke beforehand. So that's kind of my synopsis there.
Yeah, no. Honestly, I've been one kind of with you. As an Ohio State fan, every year of a disappointing of losing to Ohio State and Michigan State throughout their season, I remember always asking, be like, every single year, be like, should they get rid of him? I can vouch for you. You've always said, no, I think he's the right guy. He's a Michigan guy. He should stay. I think it'd be bad for Michigan to lose him. I've kind of thought, honestly, two different things. I have two thoughts, and I don't know what to think about him. I always thought Harbaugh, I mean, he's always talked about being a Michigan guy, so I thought Harbaugh was going to be there for long. I thought he's going to be like, I'm done with the NFL, but then I'm not surprised going back to the NFL. His brother's there, succeeding with the Ravens. Granted, they haven't had a lot. They've been good, but they haven't had a whole lot of success so far with Lamar Jackson. Getting to an AFC Championship, even that. I think the brothers they're both NFL guys. Harbaugh's been great for Michigan since he's been there. Yeah, I don't think Michigan is as the powerhouse they were back in the day of winning championships, especially with Ohio State in there. I think it's a good time for, if he wants to go to the NFL, I think this is his best opportunity because, like I said, he's been in the NFL. He's had NFL experience. He had a great season with Michigan, and I think it's a good move for him. I know we talked about before in this fall call, you said about how you think that the Cowboys will have an opening for him if you want to go there. There's going to be a handful of, maybe better coaching opportunities next year for him. But, I think this is his best chance to go back to NFL because he had a great season with Michigan, making it to the playoffs. I mean, I think people see how much he turned that program around. Granted, yeah, they didn't made it to one playoff once he was there and one Big Ten championship. And, being Michigan, you want to win every single Big Ten championship. But playing against Ohio State for how good they've been in the past years, it's tough to do that a lot. And I just think after a good year like this, I think it's the best time to get out. And I think, especially if the 49ers, not the 49ers, if the Packers end up not having Aaron Rodgers next year, I think it's the year for the Vikings to win the division. And I know we've talked about this too. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone. I think he's leaving or retiring. I know you think a little bit opposite of that. But if Aaron Rodgers is gone from the Packers, I think it's easily the Vikings' year to win the division and try to make a run in the playoffs, and that I think that probably looks very, appealing to Harbaugh. And I think if he leaves, I think it should be to the Vikings, and I think the Vikings would be getting a good coach.
I gotta agree, but like my biggest concern, and Dad and I were texting about this days. I have no idea who Michigan's gonna hire because all the good options got hired a month ago. Like this would have been like this would have been great info at in the middle of December. But I mean, he was gonna announce that he was gonna go to the NFL. I mean, especially in the middle of the NFL season and stuff like that. Because I mean, like the names I'm seeing being thrown around right now would be Josh Gaddis, their offensive coordinator, who'll be their most Michigan guy, but they hired him like 2 years ago from Bama. I've seen PJ Fleck get thrown out there, coach for Minnesota, who I don't know. That Campbell, can't remember his first name. Is it Mike from Iowa State? Matt Rule, who I really don't want to see after the debacle he had with the Panthers. And I've also seen Luke Fickell thrown out there, but I don't think they'd hire Luke Fickell because he coached at Ohio State. I said, I mean, honestly, like none of those names sound that appealing, but I mean, like I said, it's kind of a little late. I mean, honestly, I kind of just like if Harbaugh did leave, I kind of like them to just promote Gaddis to head coach, see if it works, and then try again next year. Honestly, the biggest problem is I think they'd lose McCarthy because McCarthy, if they fired Harbaugh last year, McCarthy was out. He was going to transfer. He wasn't going to go to Michigan anymore because I mean he really liked Harbaugh. So that's my biggest fear is if Harbaugh leaves, what's going to happen to our 5-star quarterback?
Yeah, and like you said, it's kind of sad that if he leaves, it would have been a lot nicer when all these coaches were trying to make moves and stuff like that. And
I would have loved to have taken Brent Venables or Lincoln Riley.
Well, Lincoln Riley wouldn't be going to Michigan. I promise you that.
Oh, I know, but I mean, like, it would have been nice to at least think that in my head.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie, Jacob. If he moves on, and I think he's going to, if he doesn't, great for Michigan. But if he does, you brought up the name PJ Fleck. I think they'd be getting an absolutely great coach with PJ Fleck. He has done an amazing job with Minnesota.
It's tough to be successful at Minnesota, so yeah, you got to give him some props there.
And if he did there, I think they'd be great with him. I think they'd be a good team with him at the head coach. And I don't know his past history of where he's played or coached in the past, but like, I think that'd be a great pickup for them. And my old roommate, old Wyatt Benson, would be pissed to think here that because I think he's a big Minnesota fan, and I think he likes PJ Fleck. So I think if he left to Michigan, I think he'd be a little upset. But actually, I'm looking here right now. Actually, his first coaching job, PJ Fleck, was Ohio State in 2006. Well, it was like one of those.
He was like a graduate assistant for special teams or something weird like that.
Yeah, graduate assistant is what he was in 2006. But like, I think that'd be a great pickup for Michigan would be PJ Fleck if that was an option. If it is, I think Michigan would be lucky to have him. You might not be a Michigan guy like you want to talk about, but whatever. Moving forward, I think Jim Harbaugh, the Vikings is great, and I think if they picked up PJ Fleck, awesome. I didn't know that till you said that, and once you said it, I'm just like, wow, that'd honestly be perfect for Michigan. Honestly, I don't want him to get him. I hope they get some
good
crappy
for PJ
dude that
too,
sucks.
because PJ, I mean, as I don't think Nick Saban could turn around Minnesota. It's impossible to be successful there.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Well, coach that did have success there. Do you know? You know who I'm talking about? Maybe not. Old Notre Dame coach.
Really? I didn't know he coached there.
I haven't heard you say the name.
Lou Holtz?
Okay, I was going to say, yeah, Lou Holtz. Yeah, he coached there.
I had no idea.
And actually, there's this fun thing that actually happened. When he coached for Minnesota, in his contract, he had a Notre Dame clause. He said, literally, when he took the job in Minnesota, he's like, if Notre Dame ever offers me the position, I'm going to take it. But in this Notre Dame clause, because like I said, I've read a lot of his books because I love Lou Holtz, and it said that if Notre Dame calls, that's fine. He can leave whenever he wants. It could be his first or second year. But they had like conditions. The one was that Minnesota had to get their attendance up to 40 or 60,000 people, like on average in a season. And it was like they have to make at least one bowl game, and there was a third one I don't remember, but like they had all these conditions because he said like if he literally told him when he got hired, he's like if Notre Dame offers me a job, he's like I'm taking it. But Minnesota was just like that's fine, but you have to meet these conditions. And in his first like season, he met those conditions with Minnesota. They were because I think when he took the Minnesota job, Minnesota hasn't been bowl eligible in like it was like very many years, like 10, 15 years. And their attendance was down, and like he turned that program around like in his first year. It was just hilarious. Like you just gotta look up like the Notre Dame clause with Lou Holtz. It's honestly kind of crazy. But moving forward to get off of that, kind of talking about the Big Ten with Michigan and PJ Fleck and whatnot. The Big Ten is talking about dropping the divisions and almost going to a Big 12 setup of rather than having East versus West, it's just the top two teams in the conference play each other. Me personally, I love the idea of that. I'm going to let you take over and just kind of talk about what you think about them the possibility of dropping the divisions and just the top two teams playing each other.
That would be the correct thing to do because every year four of the top 5 teams are always in the same division. Because Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State are all in the same division. On the other side is cream puffs like Minnesota, Northwestern, Iowa, Wisconsin are sometimes good, but I mean like they haven't won. That side of the Big Ten hasn't won a single conference title since they split in divisions like 8 or 9 years ago. They're just not good. And I mean, I don't like talking about fairness in sports because there's no such thing as fair in sports, but like it's just not fair to let to watch these because I mean, wouldn't have everyone loved to have seen another Michigan Ohio State matchup in the title game instead of Michigan beating Iowa by 40?
No, I'd agree with you. Yeah, I think it's about time. I saw a tweet about it actually because someone, I think like the news got out about this like last week or a couple weeks ago, and someone was pissed about it because just like wow, with no divisions, Ohio State will be in the Big Ten championship every single year rather than with conferences they're not in it every single year. Because those years that didn't make the Big Ten championship. If you cut it down, Ohio State would have been playing it probably every year for the past 13 years. But there's been a couple, 3-4 years they haven't played in it because, the best team was Penn State or Michigan or Michigan State, but they were the second team behind them if they got rid of the conferences. So as Ohio State fan for how good we've been, I love it. And I do love it even besides that because I think that's how it should be. I think it should be the top two teams and kind of sucks because hopefully it doesn't happen, but you might have some of the years where Ohio State and Michigan don't play each other because, with the conferences, you want to rotate who you play every single year. And maybe they still do. I don't know, but I feel like there could be maybe a year where they don't play now.
The Big Ten would be dumb to not schedule them every year, and they would because I mean they played every year before the divisions popped up, so they'd play every year. It'd still be the last game every year. It's just.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying there's a chance there. But still, I love the thought of it. I think it should happen because, like you said, and actually, since they went to the divisions, only one team has one. Actually, never mind. I'm stupid. No, they haven't. I was thinking Michigan State was from the other side because Michigan State won it the one year when they went to the playoffs. But yeah, no, it's been a long time since the division. Like you said, I don't think actually any team has one from that side. Like you said, I'm pretty sure I told you that a while ago too, but.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was a couple years there where I kind of thought Wisconsin could be competitive. I mean, like, Wisconsin probably could have won it that year when Ohio State beat the living crap out of them when they played Ohio State's third-string quarterback.
Well, Ohio State won like 60-something to 7.
Yeah, but we all know how that season ended, and I don't want to talk about it.
It's my favorite year to talk about right there. Yeah, I'm hoping it goes away. It'd be awesome if it did. I think next year, honestly, it's going to happen soon if it does, if they agree on it. I think they're talking about 2 years from now. So next year it'd be divisions, but 2 years from now, at least they're talking right now that it would move on and turn to, just complete divisions and stuff like that. So I like the sound of it, but we'll see what happens. I think they will, because they've talked about but from what I've seen though, they're waiting to make a decision to see if a decision gets made on the change of the big if they change the format, and they're waiting on that decision because basically the Big Ten's looking at what if divisions, not division, what's the best chance we have to get a Big Ten team into the playoffs? If it's having no divisions or having divisions. So I think they're waiting to see. I think if the playoff expands, they will definitely take it away.
Yeah,
And
they'd be much more
honestly,
likely to get teams in that way.
And if it keeps to 4, I guarantee they'll keep the divisions because that way you'll always have a for sure Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State winning that Big Ten championship against the other side. Because if you win the Big Ten championship, you're going to be in the playoffs. But if you take away divisions, if you have number 1 Ohio State in the nation versus Michigan, who is 10-2, which clearly Ohio State can easily lose that. They lose, they're not in the playoff. Rather than within divisions, you have a number 1 Ohio State playing against a 8-4 Iowa team that they're going to win. I think if the playoff expands, they'll get rid of the division, but if it stays the same, they'll keep the divisions just because they know that one side's going to win all the time.
Yeah, I think that is probably the proper synopsis there.
Yeah, but well, moving on from that, we have one last thing to talk about. We'll try to rip through it quick. And last thing about college football is that Caleb Williams transfers to USC. He follows Lincoln Riley. He's finally made his commitment. I think it was today, or maybe it might have been yesterday, that he came out and said this. What do you think about Caleb Williams going to USC? I know we talked about USC with Lincoln Riley early on, when our podcast first started. But what do you think about Caleb Williams going to USC?
Not a shocker. I was still holding out hope, kind of like my friend Big Cat. He's a big Wisconsin fan, so I was kind of hoping to go to Wisconsin just because Wisconsin. I just kind of feel like Wisconsin kind of deserves a good year here. So, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I would also want to stick with Lincoln Riley, knowing the success he's had with quarterbacks, and maybe USC might be competitive his first year.
Well, I know we talked about this Lincoln Riley. I'm not surprised following him there, and I know I told you this. I think USC is going to be competitive their first year. I don't know if, like I say, they're going to be in the playoffs, but they're going to be a lot better than they have been with Lincoln Riley being there. With the whole transfer portal, Lincoln Riley's one of the apparently hot coaches for people to transfer to, especially quarterbacks. So he's got his quarterback at USC right now. Lincoln Riley being there, especially Caleb was transferring. I don't know how that conference looks, but I'd be willing. If I put money on it right now, I'd say USC is going to win the Pac-12 next year, especially with Oregon's coach leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think you might be right there. I mean, we'll kind of see how many recruits are coming in because tomorrow's National Signing Day. We'll see how many of these guys he's gotten to flip in the month that he's been the coach there, and I think it'll be a good amount because I think Lincoln Riley is a guy that people want to play for, and everyone loves Southern California.
No, I agree with you there. I think USC is going to have a great season, and I'm looking at their schedule right now, just actually trying to see if they have any besides conference. Well, next year they do play Notre Dame at home, so it's not away. But besides that, it's just conference play. And if it's not conference, they're not playing anybody. So,
and they have an easy conference. So
my thing is next year, I think they can easily win the Pac-12. And honestly, if they win the Pac-12, they have a good chance at the playoffs. But I think that it's their last game of the season. Actually, last game against Notre Dame will, if they win the Pac-12 and beat a good Notre Dame team, because Notre Dame's always. Even when they don't make the playoffs and they have 2 losses, they're always a good team to beat to boost your resume. I think if I had to predict it next year, and I don't know who's going to be good. We're kind of getting to the point now. It's just like, well, is Clemson going to be good? Alabama's going to be good. And it's like, who's going to be the good team out of the Big 12, Big 10? I feel like it's just kind of up in the air now with who's going to make it. I think USC's got a shot at making the playoffs, especially if they win the Pac-12 and beat Notre Dame at the end of the season.
Said, all they got to do is, win their conference schedule, win a big game, and they can be in.
Yeah, no, you're right there. But well, I think that probably ends our podcast for today. We might have went a little longer than we usually do, but had a lot of football to talk about, NFL and college football wise. Hopefully next week, if there's enough to talk about, maybe be back. Might do two next week. I know we'll probably do one Tuesday. Actually, I'm telling you that right now, Jacob, because I'm going to go try to play basketball on Wednesday next week. So, but I hopefully maybe come back with two, but at least expect one at least on Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So,
Looking forward to it.
I am too. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.